The Varellan system was known for its peace. It wasn't a military stronghold or a capital world. There were no weapons labs, no fleets stationed nearby. Instead, its orbits held gardens of solar collectors and education satellites. Varellan. Prime itself was a cultural beacon home to some of the finest universities in the Galactic Concord. It's a place where the young and brilliant from dozens of species came to learn from one another. So when the system went dark, nobody was prepared. At first, it seemed like a relay malfunction. Minor systems went offline. A few signals glitched. The Concord's network command dismissed it as routine after all. Solar flare interference was common in that part of the sector. But within 2 hours, all long-range communications ceased. Automated beacons vanished from tracking arrays. Civilian transports trying to pass through the region stopped checking in. Varellan was, inexplicably, gone. When the Concorde finally responded, they sent a small survey wing to investigate. It never returned. That's when panic began to spread. By the time the High Council convened, the few scrambled reports they'd received painted a chilling picture an unknown force had blockaded the system. No formal declaration. No warnings. Only the silence and the fact that none who entered came back. Concord intelligence could not identify the origin. The ship surrounding Varellan Prime used unfamiliar designs. No recognizable insignia, no known propulsion trails, and most unsettling of all, they operated with coordinated, silent precision. Whoever they were, they did not behave like pirates or raiders. There was a purpose behind every movement. The Concorde scrambled what fleets it had, but the nearest battle groups were days away. Local patrols had already been neutralized. The system was too far from the core sectors to expect rapid support. One of the younger counselors, a Cernari diplomat named Kale, suggested sending out a wide-frequency distress call not to the Concorde worlds, but to any system willing to listen. It was a long shot. Most species would consider the call too risky to answer, and yet thousands of light years away. One ship heard it, drifting silently beyond the orbit of Neptune. The Terran Warship Vindicator was on the final leg of a long-range systems test. Its massive hull, shaped more like a deep ocean vessel than a sleek spacecraft, pulsed with low light and quiet energy as it cruised just beyond Sol's heliopause. Officially, the ship was a prototype of fusion of Earth's best defense technologies. Created in response to a simple question no one wanted to ask aloud. What if the galaxy wasn't as peaceful as it seemed? Captain Ria Malkov sat at the center of the command ring, her gaze fixed on the soft blue holographic display slowly unfolding in front of her. The incoming signal blinked steadily, weak, distant, and stretched thin by space and time. It was unmistakably a Concorde emergency frequency. Her second officer, Lieutenant Tanaka, studied the scan results. "It's from Varellan," he said. "Looks like a multi-species distress code. Time delays about 12 hours. Ria leaned back, letting the ship's neural interface whisper data into her thoughts. Coordinates, signal integrity, threat, probability. The AI that co-piloted Vindicator offered no firm conclusions, only probabilities and projections. The system had gone dark, and not by natural means. Technically, they weren't obligated to respond. Earth's presence in the Concorde was still considered provisional. Humanity was seen as curious, bright, but inexperienced. No one had expected much from them. That might have been true until now. Ria stood. Her voice carried across the quiet. "Deck. Set course for Varellan. Full burn. Quiet mode." Tanaka hesitated. "Captain, we don't have orders from Earth Command. We'll send a report once we're in range. Until then, this ship is under my command." There was a pause. Then the helm officer nodded and began the jump sequence. Outside, the stars began to shift. The Vindicator turned toward a distant, silent system and accelerated into the unknown. The Terran Warship Vindicator wasn't the largest vessel in the galaxy. It didn't boast shimmering alloys or gravity-defying curves, like the cruisers of the Aetheri or the fluidic bioships of the Alari. Its exterior was stark and angular, its matte black surface broken only by subtle bands of ceramic plating and exposed sensor arrays. But beneath that practical frame lived something far more remarkable. Vindicator was Earth's quiet answer to a loud galaxy, built in orbit over the moon. It was the first product of the Terran Unified Defense Initiative. Coalition effort born from lessons Earth had learned the hard way. That peace was precious, but never guaranteed. While humanity had never fought an interstellar war, its history was filled with enough conflict and resilience to prepare it for the unexpected. The ship was outfitted not with brute firepower, but with adaptive systems, layered defense grids, and one of the most advanced synthetic intelligence platforms developed on Earth, Prometheus. Estimated arrival in Viralan system, 19 hours. Prometheus announced, its voice calm, genderless, and composed. Energy signatures suggest elevated activity in system. Shall I prepare first contact protocols, Captain? Captain Ria Malkov leaned forward in her chair, studying the evolving data streams. Viralan was still shrouded in static, but sensor spikes were now confirming the presence of large vessels, dozens, at least, positioned in wide orbits around the primary planet. No transmissions, she asked. None directed outward, Prometheus replied. However, there is a continuous short-range signal being broadcast between the unknown vessels. Encrypted, pattern suggests tight, tactical coordination. So they're talking to each other, Ria murmured, but ignoring the rest of the galaxy. She stood, walking slowly to the central command display. The ship's holographic interface flared to life, showing a ghostly map of the Viralan system, trade stations, orbitals, and habitats all dim. Only the alien ships glowed bright against the dark. Lieutenant Tanaka stepped beside her, datapad in hand. The Concorde still hasn't responded to our status ping. Either they're tied up, or they didn't expect us to respond. That much was likely. Earth's entry into the Concorde had been cautious. The invitation had come with conditions. Observe first, speak when spoken to, share when ready. Many Concorde species viewed humans as latecomers, resourceful, but unproven. Ria had accepted that. Earth didn't need to be loud to be heard. Sometimes, it was better to move carefully and wait for the right moment. This might be that moment. Keep our signature low, she said. No active scans. Let's learn what we can before we knock on the front door. In the crew quarters and technical wings, the Vindicator hummed with quiet readiness. Engineers double-checked the microfusion stabilizers and hull field generators. Medical staff reviewed triage protocols, just in case. Young officers, most of them on their first deep space mission, whispered theories in hushed tones. Some were nervous. Others were curious. A few felt pride rising in their chests, not from arrogance, but from a simple realization. Humanity was answering a call no one else could. Back in the command ring, the ship's neural interface gently pinged again. Unknown. Vessels have adjusted orbital positions, Prometheus said. They are no longer in passive standby. One is now directly facing the inner jump corridor. Estimated time to intercept, if provoked, 6 minutes. They know someone's coming, Tanaka said. Then we'd better be ready to introduce ourselves, Ria replied. She turned to the communications officer. Record message for system-wide broadcast. Simple, polite, and clear. The officer nodded. Ria took a breath. This is Captain Ria Malkov of the Terran Starship Vindicator, responding to a Concorde distress signal from the Viralan system. We are entering the system under peaceful intent. Please acknowledge, the message was encoded and queued for burst transmission. Outside the ship, Space began to ripple with the telltale shimmer of an approaching system gate. The Vindicator slid forward, silent and steady, like a shadow moving across stars. Rhea didn't know what they would find on the other side. But Earth had sent a message one far greater than words. We are here. The jump corridor opened with a shimmer and elegant distortion of space-time shaped by gravitational anchors embedded in the outer rim of the Virulin system. For centuries, this corridor had served as a peaceful trade route, welcoming transports, diplomats, and students from across the Concord. Today, it opened for something else entirely. The Terran Warship Vindicator emerged from the fold in silence to the untrained eye. It looked like a deep space research vessel, polished and quiet, almost humble in design. But behind its unassuming hull was a presence that radiated something different. It did not signal fear, nor did it broadcast challenge. What it projected instead was control. Aboard the bridge, Captain Rhea Malkov stood as the last streams of static cleared from the main display. The system came into view familiar, yet now cast in a strange stillness. Virulon Prime, once vibrant and full of orbital activity, drifted quietly below. No station lights. No shuttle traffic. No broadcasts, nothing moved except for them. Across the orbital paths were dozens of ships dark in hue, sharp in design, arranged with military precision. They held formation like statues, yet every movement they made told a story. They were guarding, watching, and without question, waiting. Contact, multiple ships, Lieutenant Tanaka confirmed. 47 vessels of unknown configuration. Varying class sizes, most concentrated around the planetary equator. A few positioned along approach vectors interceptors, likely. Rhea narrowed her eyes. No attempt to block our entry. Not yet, Prometheus replied, through the ship's integrated audio system. However, one vessel has its sensors are now focused on us. The command deck dimmed as a proximity warning blinked softly in red. Vindicator had entered monitored space. They were expecting someone, Tanaka muttered. Maybe not us. He'll learn, Rhea said quietly. Send the greeting. The previously prepared message, formal, measured, and recorded by Rhea herself, was broadcast across all frequencies used by Concord member states. It was clear, unthreatening, and unmistakably human. There was a pause. Then, at last, a response. An unfamiliar voice came through, speaking in refined, deliberate Galactic common. This is Commander Threx of the Sovereign Alignment. You are entering restricted space. Turn back immediately. No vessels from your species are authorized here. Sovereign Alignment. Rhea repeated aloud. That's a new one. Prometheus cross-referenced the name against all known databases. No known records of a political or military body by that name. It may be a splinter faction or previously uncontacted polity. On screen, the alien ships began to shift subtly. Their positions adjusted, not aggressive, but defensive. The message was clear. They had noticed Vindicator, and they were preparing for possibilities. No direct threats yet, Tanaka noted. They're waiting to see what we do, Rhea said. Let's give them something to think about. She issued new orders calmly. Bring us into the outer orbital band. Match their approach vector, but stay 20 clicks clear. Maintain full sensor passives and prepare a non-interference scan. I want to learn everything we can without spooking them. The ship responded immediately. Vindicator glided forward with slow, deliberate movement. To an outside observer, it would seem almost cautious. But beneath its surface, every system was active, tracking, recording, analyzing. It wasn't just Vindicator's weapons or armor that made it unique. It was its mind. Prometheus silently mapped energy signatures, studied formation patterns, and decrypted subtle variances in the fleet's coordination. It began to assemble a profile of the alignment's command structure, how quickly they reacted. Who gave orders? How often ships adjusted without instruction? The answers were telling. They operate like a single unit, Prometheus reported. Minimal delay in tactical realignment, likely trained under a unified doctrine, not improvised. So someone taught them how to do this, Rhea said. That means someone's in charge. As the ship completed its first orbit, the Concorde channel flickered back to life, this time from a hidden outpost near Varellan's second moon. A Concorde captain, injured but alive, sent a scrambled message to any ship receiving, "Do not engage. System lost. Enemy stronger than they appear. Concorde fleet destroyed. Requesting extraction or assistance. Please warn the others." The message cut off. Silence. Returned, and still, the Vindicator held its course alone. But undeterred, Rhea exhaled slowly, her voice steady. "Send a signal to Earth's command. Situation is worse than expected, but we're staying." The shadows around Virelon deepened, and the Terran Warship moved forward. Quiet and calm, like a storm waiting to be understood. Orbiting silently above the darkened jewel of Virelon Prime. The Vindicator had become the only moving object in a sky full of silence. Below, the once busy Concorde world remained dormant, its orbital stations powered down, communications quiet, transport links severed. The presence of the so-called sovereign. Alignment remained unchallenged. They showed no signs of direct aggression toward the Terran ship, but their formations were precise, unwavering, and undoubtedly aware of its every move. On the command deck, the air was still but charged. Nothing about this feels improvised. Captain Rhea Malkov said, arms folded. "They're not scrambling, they're maintaining." Lieutenant Tanaka nodded. "And yet, they haven't fired. They want us to see this." Rhea looked up at the slowly rotating model of the system displayed. In the air above the central console, it shimmered with real-time data tactical overlays, movement patterns, unknown vessel signatures. Her gaze locked on a faint pulse, a low-frequency signal being passed between the alignment ships. "Prometheus," she said. "Any luck cracking their patterns?" The ship's neural interface responded at once. Partial decryption in progress. Signal packets are highly compressed, utilizing unfamiliar compression keys. However, early analysis suggests this fleet is operating with a central coordination node, possibly a command vessel. "Which one?" Rhea asked. "Flag candidate identified," Prometheus replied. A ship near the upper orbital layer blinked. "Read on the hologram, it has not moved since our arrival. All other vessels adjust formation in relation to its position." "Noted," Rhea said. "Mark it as priority observation. No engagement, not unless we have to." As her officers continued their analysis, Rhea took a moment to walk the deck. Every step reminded her just how far humanity had come in a short time. Earth's entry into the Concorde had been quiet, reserved. Terrans had listened more than they spoke, watched more than they interfered. Many older species had dismissed them as too young, too isolated to offer anything meaningful. What they didn't realize was that Earth had already passed through its crucibles. Unlike other Concorde members, humanity had forged its technology. Not just through exploration, but through centuries of rebuilding. Every system on the Vindicator carried the fingerprints of that history, designed to solve real problems. Tested in real crises, the ship's systems weren't just efficient, they were adaptive, Captain, said Tanaka from his station. "We're receiving telemetry from Concorde recon buoys. Looks like they scattered before the system went dark. Anything useful?" She asked. Tanaka tapped a few controls. "Yes. Prior to blackout, they logged a series of engagements. Concorde ships didn't just lose, some were overwhelmed in seconds. Precise targeting. Minimal waste. Whoever trained this fleet didn't want destruction," Rhea murmured. "They wanted control." A quiet chime interrupted her thought. Prometheus spoke again. Additional data from decrypted frequencies indicates the alignment is using a planet-based relay. It is broadcasting system-wide control signals, suggest enhanced scan for surface activity. Do it, Rhea said. The ship's forward sensors adjusted, sweeping Virulon Prime with subtle pulses. Instead of scanning with raw power like many Concorde vessels would, Vindicator used what its engineers called soft scans, layered signal mirrors, and gravimetric reflections, capable of detecting surface activity without setting off alarms. Moments later, results flowed in. Reading buried structures on the surface, Tanaka confirmed. New. Recent construction doesn't match any Varellan colonial designs. So they've landed, Rhea said. And they're building. She looked back to the main display, narrowing her eyes at the orbital command vessel. They're not just occupying, she said. They're establishing something. Tanaka frowned. Like a capital, like a statement, Rhea replied. This isn't piracy. This is politics. Silence settled again, thoughtful and weighty. The Concorde had feared a military defeat. But what Earth had walked into was something deeper, reshaping of power. It's happening in real time, and for the first time since their arrival. Captain Rhea Malkov understood the role Vindicator was meant to play. We'll keep watching, she said, but prepare contingency protocols. I don't think they've shown us everything yet. Outside the ship, the command vessel of the Sovereign Alignment remained still, its dark hull barely visible against the stars, as if it were waiting for a reason to move. And aboard the Vindicator, Earth's finest remained calm, steady, and ready. The silence around Virulon was no longer just a quiet void, it had become a tense space, thick with expectation. Captain Rhea Malkov and her crew on the Vindicator knew that every second could change the fate of the system, even the fate of the entire Concorde. The alien fleet, the Sovereign Alignment, remained poised and unmoving, as if weighing the newcomer. Their command vessel held position like a silent sentinel, sending out measured signals to their forces, maintaining order and readiness without rash action. Inside the Vindicator.com, determination filled the command deck. Captain, Lieutenant, Tanaka said, eyes fixed on the fluctuating readings. The alignment's communication patterns are changing. They're attempting to initiate contact low-frequency pulses, coded in a dialect resembling Galactic Common but altered. Rhea nodded. They're cautious, but they want dialogue. She tapped her COM panel. Prepare to open a secure channel. Let's show them what humanity can do calmly, clearly. Prometheus interfaced with the alien signal, beginning to decode the message as it came through. Channel open, the AI announced. A sharp yet respectful voice filled the room, speaking. In accented common, Terran vessel Vindicator. This is Commander Threx of the Sovereign Alignment. You have entered our zone without authorization. Explain your purpose. Rhea straightened. Commander Threx, I am Captain Rhea Malkov. We answered a distress call from the Galactic Concorde. We come in peace, seeking to understand the situation and prevent further harm to Virulon and its people. There was a brief pause, then a hint of surprise entered Threx's voice. You speak with unusual clarity and restraint. Most who come unbidden are met with force. Force is not the path we choose, Rhea said, but we will act firmly if necessary, to protect the innocent. Another pause. Your technology and approach are unfamiliar. Your ship is unlike any we have encountered. What are your intentions? Rhea glanced around the room, feeling the weight of the moment. Our intention is to offer help, to mediate. We believe this conflict can be resolved without loss. Our systems are designed to support, restore, and adapt. On the holographic display, Prometheus projected a series of visuals, energy signatures, waveforms, data patterns demonstrating Vindicator's capabilities, non-destructive energy, pulses that could disable ships without damage. Systems to repair satellite arrays remotely. CAN communication relays that enhance cooperation rather than conflict. Commander Threx's voice shifted. Your technology is ... impressive, and your willingness to seek peace, rare. Rhea smiled faintly. It is born of Earth's history. We have learned that survival depends not on conquest, but on understanding and balance. There was silence once more. Then a new message arrived on the Concord emergency channel. All Concord forces cease hostilities and stand down, came a voice. From the Central Council, the Terran vessel Vindicator is acting as official envoy. We authorize negotiations. Captain Malkov felt a surge of hope. This was the turning point. She ordered Vindicator systems to broadcast. A controlled energy display across the system's subtle waves of light and sound, choreographed to represent goodwill and peaceful intent. It was a signal understood by many cultures as a call for dialogue. Slowly, the sovereign alignment ships retracted from their blocking positions, opening a corridor through the orbits. Commander Threx replied, "We will convene for talks under your ship's aegis. Prepare. Your delegation." In the following hours, the Vindicator transformed from warship to diplomatic vessel. Its corridors, once quiet with tension, buzzed with activity as human diplomats prepared to meet representatives of the alignment. Experts from multiple species aboard the Vindicator collaborated, sharing knowledge, translating languages, and crafting proposals. The alien fleet remained nearby, but no longer menacing. Curiosity and cautious respect filled the void where suspicion had reigned. Rhea stood on the bridge, watching as the shadows of the once threatened system began to lighten. "This is more than a rescue mission," she said softly. "It's the start of something new." Lieutenant Tanaka nodded. "The Concord hasn't seen this kind of initiative in years. Humanity doesn't just arrive to fight or to conquer," Rhea added. "We arrive to listen, to understand, and, when necessary, to lead." As the first representatives of the Sovereign Alignment prepared to board the Vindicator, a new chapter in galactic history was about to be written, one where strength was measured not by weapons, but by the courage to seek peace in the darkest of times. The docking clamps hissed softly as the airlock between the Vindicator and the Sovereign Alignment command vessel sealed shut. Captain Rhea Malkov took a steadying breath and prepared to meet the alien delegation. A moment waited, with possibility and peril. Her crew watched with quiet anticipation. They had trained for many scenarios, but few matched the delicate balance of this encounter. It was not a battlefield, nor a rescue mission. It was a meeting of minds from vastly different worlds. When the airlock opened, 3 figures stepped. Aboard, they were tall and slender, their skin a deep shade of iridescent blue, their eyes bright with a cold intelligence. The lead, Commander Threx, moved with an air of cautious authority. Rhea stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the Vindicator. We come in peace and with respect." Threx inclined his head slightly. "Captain Malkov, your arrival was unexpected. Your species has stirred questions among our people, and we intend to answer them," Rhea replied. "Let us speak openly." The delegates followed her to the conference chamber, a room designed to encourage calm dialogue. Holographic displays lit the walls with star charts, cultural archives, and diplomatic protocols. "Tell us," Rhea began, "what is the Sovereign Alignment's purpose here? Why did you blockade Virulon?" Threx's eyes flickered. "We are guardians of order in this sector. The Galactic Concord's reach has expanded, but not all of its members uphold the balance. Virulon had become a nexus of dissent, harboring factions that threaten stability. We intervened to prevent chaos." Rhea absorbed this, but at what cost? The Concord has lost ships. Civilians remain stranded. There has been no communication until now. "We regret the loss," Threx said, "but order requires sacrifice. Our actions prevent wider conflict. order imposed without consent. Breeds resentment, Rhea countered gently. Peace grows through cooperation, not control. Threx regarded her thoughtfully. Your species speaks with conviction uncommon in these talks. Why? Earth's history is long and fraught. Rhea answered. We have learned that survival depends on empathy as much as strength. A moment passed. Then Threx gestured toward the display. We have gathered intelligence from the Concord fleets and your species. Your ship's technology is unlike any we have seen. Your methods adaptive, non-lethal suggest a different approach to conflict. Because there is always a choice, Rhea said. We hope you will consider it. The conversation deepened, moving from accusations to shared concerns. Threx revealed that the sovereign alignment had formed from disaffected members of the Concord, who felt its leadership had grown complacent. They sought to recalibrate power in the sector, not through war, but through demonstration of strength. Rhea nodded. Demonstration alone isn't enough. Trust must be built. The talks stretched over hours, with neither side yielding completely, but both listening carefully. Outside the chamber, the crew of the Vindicator monitored communications, sensors, and vital systems. The atmosphere was tense, but hopeful. Finally, Threx spoke again. Captain Malkov, we are willing to consider a joint council one where the Sovereign Alignment and the Concord can negotiate openly. Your presence here has shown us that dialogue is possible. Relief and determination filled Rhea's chest. Then let us begin that process. For Virulin, for the Concord, and for all who seek peace. As the delegates prepared to depart, Rhea felt the weight of what lay ahead. The path would be difficult, filled with challenges and compromises. But for the first time since the blockade began, there was a flicker of hope. The Vindicator had crossed the threshold not just into the Virulin system, but into a future where humanity's quiet strength could change the course of history. The Joint Council chamber aboard the Vindicator was a crucible where old grudges and fragile hopes met in equal measure. Delegates from the Sovereign, Alignment, and the Galactic Concord gathered in cautious unity. The chamber was larger now, its walls adorned with flags and emblems representing every faction present, a tapestry of uneasy alliances and wary partnerships. Captain Rhea Malkov stood at the head of the table, flanked by her closest advisors. The air was thick with anticipation. Years of distrust could not be erased by a single meeting. But the room buzzed with the possibility that it could be a beginning. Commander Threx was present, his demeanor less rigid than before, softened by the recognition that dialogue offered survival as well as victory. Before we begin formal discussions, Rhea opened. We must acknowledge the lives lost on all sides. Our shared goal is to prevent further bloodshed. Heads nodded in agreement, though silence lingered heavy. The first topic was Virulin's governance, its people, its resources, and its place within the Concord. Threx spoke with firm clarity. The Sovereign Alignment demands oversight of all strategic assets. Virulin must not become a safe harbor for those who disrupt the peace. A Concord representative, a stern diplomat named Halon Vri, countered. We seek to preserve planetary autonomy under Concord law. The Alignment's control risks creating a separate power block, undermining unity. Rhea listened carefully. The debate was familiar between order and freedom, control and trust. But Earth's experience had taught her the value of compromise, perhaps a shared governance model. She suggested one where local leadership collaborates with Concord and Alignment representatives. This could ensure stability while respecting planetary rights. Murmurs spread through the chamber. It was a start. Outside the formal talks, other currents flowed beneath the surface. Prometheus's algorithms quietly sifted through countless exchanges, looking for patterns, alliances, and fissures noted subtle shifts the way some alignment. Delegates hesitated when questioned, or how certain Concord members guarded specific information. Tanaka approached Rhea quietly. There's more here than just politics. We've detected covert communications, coded signals passing through data streams. Someone's maneuvering behind the scenes. Rhea nodded. In any conflict, the shadows are just as important as the light. Prepare a discreet team to monitor these signals. We need to know who benefits from continued division. Back in the council, an unexpected interruption changed the tone. An emissary from the Halari Collective, a species known for their empathic abilities and delicate diplomacy, rose to speak. The Halari urged caution, she said softly. This alignment and the Concord represent not just political factions, but deep cultural divides. Healing will take time, patience, and openness. Her words resonated. The room quieted, recognizing the truth beneath them. Rhea seized the moment. Then let us commit to ongoing dialogue, regular meetings, open channels, and shared missions to rebuild trust. Commander Threx nodded slowly, agreed. But know this: we will not tolerate sabotage or deceit. The warning hung in the air, clear and resolute as the council recessed. Rhea returned to the bridge, reflecting on the day's progress. Have the surveillance teams found anything yet? She asked Tanaka. Several encrypted data bursts from outside the system, likely agents seeking to inflame tensions or exploit weaknesses. She grimaced. We're not just dealing with old rivalries. Someone wants this conflict to continue. Prometheus added. I recommend deploying countermeasures, both technological and diplomatic, to isolate these actors. Rhea's eyes hardened with resolve. Then that's what we'll do. The future of this system and, perhaps, the Concord depends on it. Outside the Vindicator, the Sovereign Alignment fleet remained on alert, but the rigid stance had softened. The ships no longer orbited like a cage, but like guardians holding watch. The fragile peace hung in the balance, upheld by fragile trust and firm resolve in the shadows. Unseen hands moved pieces on the galactic chessboard. But humanity's quiet strength was a new variable, one that could tip the scales. Captain Malkoff watched the stars, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the spark of hope. They had built a bridge in shadow, and now it was time to see if it could hold. The council chamber was quiet as the final votes were cast. Months of tense negotiations, cautious diplomacy, and relentless vigilance had culminated in a fragile but meaningful accord. Captain Rhea Malkov stood beside Commander Thrax, the faces of both the Sovereign Alignment and the Galactic Concord, reflecting a mix of relief, pride, and lingering uncertainty. The long blockade of Virulon Prime had ended not with a battle, but with a promise. The Sovereign Alignment and the Galactic Concord hereby agree to a joint administration of the Virulon system, Rhea announced. A council representing all stakeholders will govern, balancing order and autonomy. The room broke into quiet applause, the sound of unity echoing where once there had been only suspicion and fear. For Earth, for humanity, and for the crew of the Vindicator, this was more than a diplomatic success. It was a testament to what the species could achieve when strength was paired with empathy. Outside the chamber, the atmosphere was one of cautious optimism. The Sovereign Alignment ships gradually shifted formation, their presence changing from blockade to patrol. The Concord vessels resumed communication with local outposts, restoring lifelines that had been dark for months. Rhea stood on the bridge of the Vindicator, watching the stars glide past as the system came alive again. Captain Tanaka reported. The covert signals have stopped. Our countermeasures worked. She nodded. Good, but we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is vast, and peace is never permanent. Do you think this accord will hold? A junior officer asked, eyes wide with hope. Rhea smiled softly. It must, because if we fail, the cost will be far greater than any warship can pay. In the following weeks, joint patrols became routine. Scientists and engineers from different worlds worked together to repair damaged satellites and infrastructure. Cultural exchanges blossomed, with shared knowledge bridging centuries of misunderstanding. Yet beneath the progress, new challenges remained. The fragile alliance required constant nurturing, and the shadows that once stirred tensions had not vanished entirely. But for now, the system was safe, its people hopeful. One evening, in the quiet of her quarters, Rhea reflected on the journey, from Earth's distant orbit to the edge of a divided system. The Vindicator had been more than a warship. It had been a symbol, a reminder that power could be wielded not just to conquer, but to protect and unite. Her thoughts were interrupted by the soft hum of an incoming message. It was from Earth Command, Captain Malkov. Congratulations on the Virelin Accord. Your leadership has set a new standard for the Concord and humanity alike. Await further orders. Rhea replied simply, "Understood. We stand ready." As the Vindicator prepared for its next mission, the stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter. The Terran Warship's arrival had shocked alien forces beyond expectation, not with overwhelming force, but with resilience, diplomacy, and unwavering resolve. The dawn of a new Concord was here, and humanity's place among the stars was no longer uncertain.